Hey everybody, Mrs. Buckley and Mrs. Jacobs asked me to kind of go over some 7th grade material with you guys. So I'm going to spend about 5 minutes on each video, and then I set up a Kahoot just to practice over some questions, because we all have faith that you guys can take care of business in a couple of weeks and get everything taken care of. So we're going to talk about genetics real quick. Sorry. Let's talk about DNA first. The shape of a DNA molecule or a structure is called a double helix. Kind of snakes around. The outside is made up of a phosphorus group as well as a sugar group. Okay, and that sugar group is deoxyribose. Kind of sounds like deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay, so those are the two items that the physical structure is made up of. The other part are the rungs that are going to be in the middle of that molecule. Those rungs are made out of 4 chemicals. Okay, one chemical is called adenine. Adenine is always paired up with a chemical called thymine. Okay, I always like to remember it as AT, spells the word at. Could also be TA. Okay, those can be switched, but know that adenine and thymine are always base pairs together. The other base pair is cytosine with guanine. Okay, and again, those are paired up. C is always going to go with G, or you can reverse that. G is always going to go with C. So it kind of helps you to figure out what those are going to be partnered up with. Okay, so again, phosphorus and a sugar group, okay, makes up deoxyribose, and that is the latter, or the rung part, the latter part of that DNA structure. Okay, and in between there's rods, and those rods are what gives you the code that makes you you. And those are made up of only 4 chemicals. Adenine and thymine are always paired together, and cytosine and guanine are always paired together. Okay? If you have any questions, you guys are more than welcome to come down and see me, or talk to your teacher. They have all this information. Okay, so when you talk about the chemicals, again, A with T or T with A, again, they are always partnered up together. Guanine and cytosine, or cytosine with guanine, they're always partnered up together. Okay, all right. So let's go over some vocabulary, because some of this stuff can get a little tricky. Sorry, I'm fighting off a bit of a cold. So let's talk about genotype and phenotype and some other words that you might hear. A phenotype, and I want you to think of the P as the P in the word picture. Okay, when I look at a picture, I can see the traits. So if I look at a picture of, I don't know, a student or anybody, I can tell their eye color, I can tell their hair color, I can tell their skin color, I can tell how tall they are, whether they have hair on their knuckles of their hand. All of these things make up a phenotype. You can see them. Again, think of the P in phenotype as the P in picture. That is different from a genotype. The genotype are the 2 letters or the 2 traits that come together to make up a specific characteristic. For an example, I'm going to have big T and little t. That is a code for, let's say, how tall you are. Now, I can see how tall you are, but I cannot see the code that makes you the height that you are. So your genotype are your ingredients. What makes you you? Okay, it's the coding. The phenotype is what you actually see. Okay? All right. So let's put everything together in a Punnett square. And a Punnett square is literally a square broken into 4 groups that go over traits. So I'm going to put, let's say, gosh, I'm going to say big T is going to be dominant, and dominant is always capitalized. Big T for tall, and I'm going to do little t for short. Dominant, recessive. If there is a T in any of our combinations, you're going to see, or the phenotype is going to be tall. So let's say I have a mom and dad. One of them is tall, and their phenotype is going to be big T, big T. And let's say the other one is rather short, and we're going to do little t, little t. So we're going to put this in a Punnett square. I'm going to put the tall person on the top, so big T, big T. And again, this is its genotype. Genotype, or the letters, okay? And the other one's going to be little t, little t. Again, genotype, it's the code. And I'm going to cross them. I'm going to have big T, little t. So all I'm doing is taking those two and putting them together. Big T, little t, big T, little t, big T, little t. Now remember, these are genotypes. Those codes are all genotypes. It's the code that tells your body what to make. So let's figure this out here. I'm just going to grab another pen. Remember, big T is dominant. Little t is recessive, meaning it's going to hide behind the big T. Big T is always going to show up. Big T is always going to be your phenotype. It's what you're going to see. So if I look at this one, oh, I have a big T. That person's going to be tall. Phenotype. Genotype. Let's look at this one. Genotype. Uh-oh, big T. This one's going to be tall. Let's look at this one. Uh-oh, big T again, tall. Big T again, tall. Now, it doesn't always work that way. Depends on what your combinations are. We'll do one more in a minute to practice. So let's kind of break it down. If I'm looking at tall, what percent of all these people are going to be tall? Well, I have 4 squares, so it's going to be out of 4. And how many of them are going to be tall? This is just a counting game. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 4 are going to be tall, or 100%. Okay, so let's try another one. I'm just going to squish this up for a second. Okay, and I'm going to do capital B for brown eyes, small b for blue. Okay, and let's cross somebody with brown eyes. Now remember, brown is dominant. It will show up. And let's say somebody has blue eyes. Little b, little b. And let's cross them. Big B, little b. I'm just taking these 2 letters and combining them. Little b, little b. Big B, little b. Little b, little b. Okay, now let's figure out who's going to have brown eyes. What's the probability of brown eyes? This one, this one. So it's going to be 2 out of 4, or 50%. If I'm looking at blue eyes, this one and this one. So blue eyes, 2 out of 4, or 50%. Okay. Now, another thing to kind of mention is you might see some crazy words such as homozygous, and heterozygous. Okay, think as homo means the same. Hetero means different. Okay, so if I take a look at this, which are my homozygous? The ones that are the same. Those aren't the same. That's not homozygous. Those are the same. That is definitely homozygous. And they're homozygous recessive. If I look here, homozygous, and because they're little b, it's going to be homozygous recessive. Now, if I take a look at the other ones, my other ones, I have a big B, little b, they're different. That's going to be heterozygous. Big B, little b, heterozygous. All right, so I want you to go ahead and watch the other videos. And then when you're done, do the Kahoot and do some practice. You're more than welcome to watch this as many times as you want to kind of get things to sink in. And remember, we're always here for you guys. Ask any questions you have, and you guys are going to do great.